Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official college football week number 13 top 10 best bets. We're really coming down to it, guys. It's the final week. Of course, this will not be the final video of the best bets. We've got all of the major bowl games and things like that. We have been absolutely crushing it. We're destroying Vegas at this point, late in the season. We know all of these teams. We know how good they are. So, guys, let's have another great week. And, of course, we've got the Thanksgiving night miracle. Ole Miss minus 2.5 versus Mississippi State. Guys, let's not overthink this. I realize Ole Miss played horribly last week against Arkansas. I said to take Arkansas plus the 3, but now Ole Miss is at home. They don't want to ruin their season by losing this game to Mississippi State. They still have a decent enough offense. They've got a good, receiver core. They've got a decent quarterback, Jackson Dart. I'm expecting a higher scoring game, but Lane Kiffin gets it done. Only 2.5-point favorites against a mediocre Mississippi State team. This is a rivalry game, so anything can happen, but give me Ole Miss at home in that one. Number 2, North Carolina minus 6.5 versus NC State. This is another game where let's not overreact to North Carolina's down performance. They're sitting right now minus 6.5. Yes, they have a bad defense, but the good news for North Carolina, NC State has an extremely horrible offense, and NC State has played terribly in recent weeks. I think North Carolina, they know they can still have an unbelievable season. They win this game. They win the ACC championship against Clemson. They're not going to mess this up. 6.5, it's kind of annoying because NC State does have a good defense, but still, I'm thinking like 31-17, something like that. I just don't think NC State, with how bad their offense has been, is going to score enough to keep up with Drake May and a North Carolina offense that has got to be pissed off after their 17-point performance against Georgia Tech. This game happening on Black Friday. This is another Black Friday game. We're going Nebraska at Iowa, the under 37.5. I'm really shocked the over-under in this game is at 37.5. I figured it would be 33 or 34. Nebraska, lower scoring team. I know Casey Thompson came back, but still. And then Iowa. I mean, guys, if you want to know anything about Iowa, their over-under this past week was 31.5, and the under hit. This is a 4 o'clock afternoon game. This game's got 16-13 written all over it. I'd probably also take Nebraska plus the 10.5. I think that's decent value. They'll probably keep this game close. Iowa just plays a bunch of close games because they have no offense. So, 37.5 to me is good value. I figured this over-under would be 34, 35, something like that. So we'll take the under on that. And then this is the night Black Friday game, Florida State minus 10 versus Florida. I have no idea why this line is what it is. I think Florida State should be minus 14.5. That's what I would have set it at. Florida, I mean, you can try and say, this is college football. Florida loses to Vanderbilt, then they come back and beat Florida State. But guys, if we're logically thinking about this, the way Florida State has played, their season is over. They're not, Florida is a dead program right now. FSU has so much momentum. They know they're going to get into a really good bowl game if they crush Florida. They want that momentum going into the offseason with all the recruiting and things like that. Florida State is going to crush Florida. They're significantly better. They're at home. They will win this game by over 10 points, in my opinion. And then Fresno State minus the 15 versus Wyoming. So there is an interesting trend with Wyoming games. Whoever the favorite is, whether it's Wyoming or the team Wyoming is facing, they normally don't cover. And I think that trend is going to be bucked here because Fresno State, with their, quarterback, who's an NFL prospect, if they had him for the entire season, they would be ranked. They would be a top 20 team. They are impressive. Wyoming cannot score. This game very easily could be like a 34-10 type game. Fresno State, to me, can score enough to cover the 15. Wyoming has a decent defense, but a really bad offense, so I will take Fresno State. I believe that's also a Black Friday game. Moving on to the Saturday games, the Ohio State game just went down to 7.5. It was at 8.5. And guys, what does this line remind you of? Does this line not remind you of the Tennessee-Georgia, where Tennessee was 8-point underdogs on the road. To me, it's the exact same thing. And people are going to find value in Michigan, and I totally understand it. Ohio State is a flawed team. But guys, Michigan is also a flawed team. Michigan is extremely one-dimensional. They're dealing with an injury to Blake Corum. Ryan Day needs to win this game. It is imperative for his coaching career at Ohio State. He has more talent. He's at home. You've got to win this game. I've got it at 34-17. Maybe it's 34-24. But this line reminds me of the exact line where Tennessee was on the road at Georgia, and we all thought Tennessee was great value, +8, +9, +7, whatever it was, and they got thoroughly beaten. So guys, Blake Corum, the injury, that adds to it. That's why I'm going in on Ohio State minus the 7.5 in that one. Number 6, Auburn at Alabama. This is a value over, the over 47.5. This is based off a number of analytical models, along with the idea that you would figure 47. I mean, Auburn has been scoring. They've got a program that's energized with the interim head coach. Alabama, Bryce Young, his last home game. You figure that these two teams can score enough to get over the 47.5 mark. I will say people are betting this line down, and I'm guessing they're doing that because you take a look at the last Iron Bowl last year. I think the final score was 13-10. So I understand why people are nervous about this game, but I'll take the over. 47.5 is too good value for me for Bryce Young in that offense. Minnesota at Wisconsin, the over 34.5. So this game is not involving Iowa. So, 34.5, Minnesota can run the ball well enough, in my opinion, to at least get to 21 or 20. And then Wisconsin, guys, obviously both of these offenses are bad, but this is another value over. Again, the common denominator is Iowa. If Iowa was involved in this game, I take the under. They're not. Both of these offenses can score enough. You get something, now you're talking about like 20-17 and you've got the over hitting. So I will take the over. I personally think this game could be like 24-21 with a pretty easy over, in my opinion. Oregon State +3.5 versus Oregon. Very simple on this one. Oregon State's the home team. They're having a great season. It's a rivalry game, and Bo Nix is injured a little bit. So 3.5 is a very attractive number. Oregon could win on a walk-off field goal, and you're still covering with the Oregon State 3.5 number. They're at home, rivalry game. They're going to be revved up. Oregon's dealing with a quarterback injury. It all comes together, and it creates a Mona Lisa and a perfect bet. Plus the 3.5. San Jose State -14 versus Hawaii. We're going to get San Jose State to cover one of these games. They're going to do it. Hawaii's actually been playing better. I will say that. But in my opinion, San Jose State is due for a cover. Minus the 14. Hawaii, let's be real, they still suck even though they've been covering. This is a correction game. San Jose State wins this game 37-7 at home in their final regular season game. North Texas minus the 13.5 versus Rice. So this is a value bet. North Texas should probably be -20 in this game. I know a lot of people probably don't know North Texas. You don't know Rice. Rice is really bad. North Texas has an explosive offense. This will not be a close game. This spread was done wrong. If you look at any analytical model, it will not be close. North Texas will easily cover. Moving on, we've got UTEP at UTSA, the over 56.5. So sometimes I'll just find random games. My original prediction on the over-under in this game, based on especially the UTSA offense, was like 60.5. If they're giving me at 56.5, I feel like UTSA scores 38. UTEP can score enough. Maybe even, we get UTSA, getting to 40, 45, something like that, and the over hitting. I just like the value in the over in that game. Utah -29.5 at Colorado. So this is like 4 straight weeks this has happened where Colorado has been 30-point underdogs and they cannot cover. So we're going in on Utah. Maybe this is the week Colorado covers, but it's happened so many times. Nevada at UNLV, the under 51. So this is me sniping another Mountain West game. These are just two bad offenses. I don't think they can combine for 51 points. That's the only explanation. I do this week in and week out with the Mountain West Conference, where if you get an over-under that seems a little bit higher, like 51, you'll take the under. There is an issue sometimes with games like this that are totally meaningless. It might just randomly be a higher scoring game because this is college football and these kids really don't care. But when you're talking about two bad offenses, Mountain West, I mean, we'll go like a 16-13, 20-17 type final on that. Vanderbilt plus the 13.5 versus Tennessee. This line is plummeting. Hendon Hooker is out. Joe Milton is the starting quarterback for Tennessee on the road in this game. And I think Tennessee wins it, barely. But Vanderbilt, they've got so much momentum. It just makes so much sense. They've won 2 games in a row. They're at home. Tennessee is coming off that crippling loss. What is that locker room like after that horrible loss and you lose your Heisman contending starting quarterback for the year with a major injury? I think Tennessee, they're going to do enough to get the win, but it's going to be really close. Everyone is in on Vanderbilt here. Notre Dame plus the 5 at USC. This line is also going down. I think it was at 6, then it was at 5.5, now it's at 5. I think, USC wins this game. It's probably by a field goal. I love the value for Notre Dame in that defense. Notre Dame's defense is significantly better than USC's defense. Yes, Caleb Williams and Jordan Addison are both better offensive players than anything Notre Dame has, but when you're talking about football, you trust the defense of Notre Dame to keep this game close, and that's what I'm really banking on. Notre Dame plus the 5 there. Houston minus 12.5 versus Tulsa. Houston is on a warpath right now. Get out of their way or get run over. It's the same thing as FSU. You need to bet Houston minus. I will say, I believe Penn State is minus 18. I would bet Penn State. I don't have that on here, but you've got Penn State on a warpath. You've got Notre Dame on a warpath. You've got Houston on a warpath. And you have Florida State on a warpath. Those 4 teams need to be auto bet no matter what. That's free. That is 4 free wins right there. Pittsburgh at Miami, the over 44. This is just a value over. Both of these teams, you would figure, have enough offense. It's a small number for Miami. I realize Miami's offense has not been good, but this could be a fun, high-scoring game between 2 teams that really don't have much to play for. I guess Pittsburgh is probably playing for like a bowl spot and things like that, but maybe get into a better bowl. Either way, 44 just struck me, and it really struck the analytical models as a low number for those 2 teams. Boston College plus 10.5 versus Syracuse. Guys, this is what Boston College does. They get crushed, then they come back and surprise you. They got annihilated by Notre Dame. They honestly might win this game outright against Syracuse. They've got a good enough defense. Yeah, listen, I'll be honest, guys. Boston College is not a good team, but Syracuse just sucks. I mean, I know Syracuse started 5-0. They were a darling, but give me Boston College. I realized they were down 37-0 at halftime, but this is how college football is. 1 week they suck, the next week they're good. Boston College might win this game outright. I like the value at home, plus the 10.5. Washington at Washington. I also like the under in that Boston College game. It's going to be a colder game. Washington at Washington State. If the over-under in a Washington game is under 60, I have to take the over, and this should be a really fun rivalry game. I love Washington State plus the 2, but I love the over 58, as well, because Washington has such a bad defense, but they've got a great passing offense, higher scoring, fun rivalry game, in my opinion, there. And then the Air Force minus 2 at San Diego State. To put it simply, Air Force is just a significantly better football team than San Diego State. Maybe San Diego State, being at home, can get the win, but I think Air Force should be like minus 4.5 in this game, and they're minus 2. So as long as they win, you would figure they're probably going to cover the 2-point spread unless they win by 1. Either way, this line just struck me like this whole season, Air Force is just better than San Diego State, so I think they'll beat them, and obviously probably by more than 2 points. That's my reasoning for that. But guys, that is going to do it for my top 10 best bets here for college football week number 13. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.